Alright, go. Intro.
Did I ruin the whole thing?
Welcome to 529 Podcast.
A podcast about creators, for creators living their 5 to 9 life.
Today we have Elaine Li.
Elaine Li.
Elaine Li.
Or some people would say Lane.
Yeah. Lane.
I couldn't figure out for like the first 4 years of me following you.
A lot of people call me Lane,
Oh.
which I'm like, oh,
Maybe it's a way that they like, I don't know her name, I just call her Lane.
yeah.
Maybe.
It works, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, who are you and what do you do, Elaine?
So I'm Elaine, and I am an advertising creative. So I work as an art director in an ad agency, and I also do freelance photography, which is kind of like a hobby turned into a side hustle because of Instagram. And I'm from Hong Kong.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
And you currently live in Sydney?
You move around a lot. It's always hard to track where you are, and like
Yeah.
every weekend you're like somewhere else.
I spend most of my time in Sydney now.
Yeah.
But most people on the internet think I'm all over the place just because of the photos that I post.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of all of us, I think.
Yeah. I don't like you can trick them into thinking you're somewhere, but then like
Yeah.
I usually have in my profile like where I am. I guess it helps
Yeah.
clients and stuff.
Yeah, I do that too. But no one seems to read that
Yeah.
on my profile.
But then the last month or so, you've been kind of going back to Hong Kong a few times and going back
for
and forth.
work. Yeah. So like, because I work full time in an ad agency in Sydney, a lot of times I can't afford to just take like last minute leave.
Yeah.
And so I would fly out from Sydney Friday night, get to Hong Kong Saturday morning, do the shoot, and then fly out of Hong Kong Sunday night.
And you go back to work Monday morning.
Yeah, arrive to
my
Sydney
goodness.
at like 6 a.m. in the morning on Monday.
And you go to work.
Then go straight to work.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the jet lag?
I don't deal with that. I just like lots of
'Cause
caffeine.
on Monday you'd be so tired.
Yeah.
And then you just go home from work and you sleep.
Well,
probably or
the thing
something.
is like, it's weird because like, so like you arrive at 6, right? And then like I actually get to go home, shower, maybe take like a 30 minutes nap, go to work, and I'm actually okay till like 2 p.m.
Yeah, and then
that's when I'm just like, I can't
yeah,
function.
yeah,
But I try to not let that, affect my work because I enjoy my job, my day job. I enjoy advertising. And so that's also part of why I try to keep the photo stuff like a weekend
right.
thing.
So I guess before we talk about the photo stuff, maybe we just start talking about your advertising side and like what do you do on a day-to-day basis, I guess.
The thing with advertising is it's different all the time, which makes it really fun. Like I've been in advertising ever since graduating from college, starting from being a junior art director in Chicago,
Right.
then going back to Hong Kong, being an art director, then moving here,
Right.
also an art director.
Okay.
It's just like same job but like different countries.
Yep.
And our job kind of ranges from, like creating mood boards to brief like photographers and directors to coming up with like big advertising campaign ideas or TVC stories to like, just one simple social post. So it's like
Lots of different things.
everything.
What's the difference? I've always wanted to know. This is probably a dumb question for like people who do know, but like art director and creative director, they're two different roles, right? So what's the difference?
So traditionally in advertising, the way the creative department is structured is you work in pairs. So I'm an art director and then my partner is a copywriter.
Yeah.
Right.
So we both come up with ideas together. And after we come up with ideas, we have to, put it in a nice deck to present to our creative director. So the difference is creative director is higher, where they overlook both art and copy.
Okay.
Right.
Whereas for me, I guess I'm more specialized in art.
Right.
And whereas my copywriter partner would be, writing
Yeah.
kind of the write-ups, like, explaining our idea or like the lines in the actual ads.
Right.
So,
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
More like a how do you explain it? Like they overlook the whole thing.
Yeah. It's a more senior role.
Yeah.
How would you find how would you compare working in Hong Kong and Sydney and working in Chicago as well? I guess how would you?
Yeah, you have an
compare the three?
accent, so
My accent is more Aussie now. It's
Yeah, it's
weird.
changing again.
It's really
When we
weird.
first met, it was like American.
Yeah.
It's like changing.
Yeah, it's only been a year and a half.
Have you caught yourself saying any kind of Aussie things?
Arvo.
Yeah.
Just the way you pronounce the O's.
Yeah.
So what do you call the place? golden
Macca's.
Yeah.
When I say McDonald's, no one understands what I say.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah, I guess like, yeah.
I mean, in Chicago, I only worked for like a year, and it was straight out of uni.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a really junior role, and it was like a B2B, which is like business to business ad agency, so it's quite different. But I'd say that the biggest difference is, I think, as a society in general, creativity is more appreciated in places like Chicago and Sydney compared to like a place like Hong Kong.
Right.
Because Hong Kong is such like a, financially and economically driven place. And so, and also I think a lot of clients back home are not as brave to do weird, crazy stuff.
I feel like that's Asia in general. Yeah.
But I find like there's really weird like Japanese ads when you think about it.
Yeah,
like,
Japan and Thailand do really crazy ads.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Right.
But yeah, that's one thing. And then also obviously the work-life balance. Like Hong Kong, everyone knows you have to work crazy hours. Overtime is like expected. Whereas I think in Sydney, they really push for like they know that you have a life.
Yeah.
And so even if you work like overtime, say on the weekend, they'll give you a day in lieu back. It's like, oh, take this day off, you need it. And they actually care about your mental health as well, which is really good. Yeah.
There should be a separation. I think like I haven't had a day job in a while, so I guess I can't really right. But yeah, you should have. And I guess my whole life is just like I shoot for fun and I shoot for work.
You're just enjoying life, man.
It's having fun.
Work is work still. So.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then recently you won that Australian
Young Lions.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, thank you. Yeah. So Cannes Lions is kind of like this big advertising festival to celebrate creativity.
And it's held in Cannes?
In Cannes, yeah.
How do you say that place?
Cannes. I don't know,
okay.
yeah.
Cannes.
Not to be mixed up with the Cannes Film Festival.
Right, okay.
Or apparently it's the Porn Festival. That
really?
happens right after our festival.
Okay.
Yeah, so Cannes Lion is basically this massive festival. There's like talks, there's like, events going on for a week, but there's also like all these awards that they award, really great creative campaigns or and so getting a Cannes Lion is kind of a big deal. Within the industry.
Yeah.
It's an Oscar essentially.
Kind of, yeah. But the competition that I joined is Young Lions, which is for creatives under the age of 30.
Okay.
So what happens is it's a bit like the Olympics, kind of.
Right.
Where like you have to win the national competition to represent the country and then go compete in Cannes against all the other countries. So it was really weird because 3 years ago I won the Hong Kong one and represented Hong Kong and now I'm like I'm not from here but I'm working here and so I represented Australia.
So it's a good thing you're in Australia then.
I guess
it's a good thing wherever you are.
The competition was a lot bigger because it's such a there's more people in the industry here, but it's pretty funny.
That's awesome. So
and
you
my
won the
partner's
Australian.
American, so neither of us are Australian, and yet we represent Australia. So.
You guys are working here, I think, in the industry, so I think it counts. So.
It's globalization as its finest.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So you represented Australia, and then
we competed
you
against.
Got to go there and
Do you submit a piece of work, or is it just your overall body of work, or?
So there's 2 rounds in the Australian competition.
Yep.
There's one round where you just submit like a 10-page creative response to a brief. It was for Snapchat.
Right.
We made it to shortlist, in which there were 5 teams of shortlist out of 200 entries.
Okay.
And so after we got shortlisted, we had 24 hours to respond to a new brief.
Oh wow.
So they brief you on like at 10 a.m. that day, and then you have to submit it at 10 a.m. the next day. So we slept for 1 hour.
Oh,
it was really stressful.
Yeah.
And then we also had to do a presentation to like a panel of 16 judges.
Yeah.
So it was like, we're delirious and just like tired and really emotional.
Yeah.
And then they announced the winners like another 24 hours later.
Wow.
So it was really,
And the one in Cannes is very similar? Like you have to
it's
do a
also
24 hours.
24 hours.
Oh, wow.
It's a new 24 hours brief.
Wow,
It's for an NGO client, but we came top 10 in that one.
That's cool. Awesome.
So,
What the heck? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were so close though.
Yeah.
So it's like, I wish we, just
You got a trip over there, like. So
yeah, it was a free trip.
Yeah.
And the copywriter you're with is the one you work with as well. So you might make a pretty good team then, I guess.
Yeah, I
okay.
think so. It's working.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Should we move on to a bit of photography stuff, I guess?
Yeah, so how did you... I've been following you for a while.
Yeah, we've both been following you for a long time.
Since the start. Like,
You're one of the OGs.
Oh,
Hong Kong OGs.
Yeah, like...
I think
There was
the three of you.
I found Tyson first.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Tyson's the OOG.
Yeah, because he kind of started in Hong Kong and stuff. And
Yeah, and then you,
brought on, like...
Viv and Ed, kind of the three of you kind of...
It was more like Tyson and then Vivian and Edward, because at that time I was still in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and then I moved back and met all of them, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so nice. Like, this people actually go out and shoot
Yeah.
every weekend together. And obviously Hong Kong is such an easy place to just
Yeah.
go and explore.
It's compact and like you don't have to travel too far. And
Yeah. It's
good
efficient.
public transport. yeah.
So yeah.
Were you iPhone only at the start, or how did you start photography?
Photography, it's kind of always been in my life.
Yeah.
Even when I was a kid.
Right.
I can actually send you guys photos of me as a baby holding a camera.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Do it.
Because my dad was a big photo.
Yeah, we'll put on the...
Here.
Yeah.
My dad was a big photo nerd,
Right.
I guess. Like, he was the chair of his photo society at school, and there's just like cameras and, you know, like, he's a businessman, but he was gonna study photography. So I think I got it through him. It's in the genes. So yeah, like, photography has always kind of been in my life, you know, my dad being an amateur photographer. So as a kid, I would kind of just play around with his old film cameras. Like, I remember developing, well, not as a kid, but like, I was like, you know, secondary school, which is grade 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I would bring these cameras to school. It's like
Do you remember what they were?
heavy. They're like heavy old metal Fuji
Leicas.
ones.
Oh.
No, it was Fuji.
Fuji,
But they're heavy.
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how I did it, but
Okay.
yeah. So photography has kind of always been there, and then Instagram came along, and my friend was like, "Oh, you like taking pictures? You should get on there." I was like, "Okay."
Right.
And so I started posting just iPhone photos because it's just easier, and I think you can only post from iPhone.
Well,
or from a
no one
device.
posted from like, because back then you had to scan photos and like
I can't.
like, and it wasn't easy to kind of get it on
computer,
and onto the phone as well. Like,
yeah.
And then
Dropbox or anything,
it was kind of expected that everyone was posting iPhone photos for a long time.
Yeah, so I definitely started with that.
Yeah.
And then over time, you know, as much as, you know, mobile devices can do a lot of really great things, you still
pushing
it's still not the same
level.
as like a camera. And so after a while I started shooting with camera, and now I'm still shooting with a camera.
Right. So I guess like the way you came up on Instagram, was that obviously through the community in Hong Kong? You kind of just started shooting together, started meeting other people, and then how did you rise? How did you rise, Elaine?
I guess I started the account in Chicago. And I was posting really artsy geometric photos, like these stairs and like cool walls and really minimal stuff.
Yeah.
And then this one guy started following my account, and I was like, why is this random person who I don't know follows my account? Like, because back then it's like you don't meet internet friends.
It's a bit weird.
It's not a thing.
Yes. We are internet friends now.
We are.
Yeah.
And he messaged me and he was like, do you want to meet up and shoot? I was like, okay, that's like freaking creepy. Like, I don't know who you are. It could be some weird, you know. But like, I looked at his work and it's like really cool. And I was like, I was in Chicago, didn't have that many friends there, so it's like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's just go.
Okay.
And he introduced me to this whole like, you know, do you know Monil? Do you know like Jerry Chambers, who are like really big Instagrammers back then?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like, who are these people? And then he was like, you know, there's a community, there's Insta Meets, like, there's all these apps to, like, edit photos. And I'm like, I've just been using Instagram filters.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? And so, like, I just got, like, so into it after he just told me all these things.
Who is this guy?
His handle is Israel_R.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I owe this whole thing to him.
Right, okay.
So he kind of opened my eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, I can actually use this as a way to... Well, also because I was looking for a job, graduating from school. Yeah. So I was like, I can use this as a portfolio as well as getting to meet people.
Right.
And so I started following people like Vivian, Edward, Varun, Candy, and all that.
Yeah.
And then when I moved back to Hong Kong, I met with them and, you know, started shooting together. And how I rose is I was on the suggested user list, which I think a lot of
people we both were too.
Yeah, so I was on that, and then I jumped from 9K to 29K.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, this is cool. Like people care about my photos,
exactly,
and and it's like, oh, that felt really good. And then just kept on shooting, and I think my second big, I guess, jump is when I started doing rooftoping and started putting myself in front of the camera.
Right.
Because before people followed me for pretty pictures.
Right.
Whereas, now, before back then, I had this other, almost like an alter ego kind of, I guess, branding identity thing where it's not just pretty pictures, but it's also like, this girl is like crazy badass. Like she's doing all these crazy shit. And
it's more relatable. It's more relatable when you do that.
In a way, so that kind of really grew my account.
Yeah.
And then I got on the suggested user list again.
Yeah.
Which I told Instagram I didn't want to.
Because
they were mostly spam followers.
Yeah.
So that actually grew my account 20K before they actually removed me.
Right.
And then the rest over time it's kind of just
slowly and
slowly kind of grew, and obviously through shooting with different people in the Instagram community, people see me through your feed or they see you through my feed as well. That kind of just snowballed.
Yeah, you've been on a few trips with I remember when you guys all went to that
place.
I can never say it. That place and
it was like 12 of us.
Yeah.
It was like hectic.
I was following most of you, and then like all the photos started coming up, and it was they're all really good photos.
I thought you all got sent there by some tourism company, but you guys
we paid for it.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was hectic.
Yeah.
Because only a few of us spoke Mandarin.
Yeah.
Oh really?
So like we were the organizers. Yeah, it was fun though.
That kind of put in perspective that how like campaigns, it almost was like a campaign, right? How it can put a place on the map and make what everyone want to visit, because like your reach at that point, like the collective reach was
you guys were
big.
massive.
Yeah.
Still massive. Like I'm saying, back then, like you guys, everyone was kind of looking up to you. Everyone on that trip was like, everyone's there at the same time.
What are they doing?
I want to be there. Like,
I wanted to be there too.
But like, I just need to be one of your friends.
We can go now.
Yeah. But it's interesting because when we organized this trip, we never thought about anything about like reach or numbers.
Just having fun, right?
It was literally one of us were like, we should go travel to rural China, and another was like, yeah, let's go. And then everyone was just like, oh, I'm coming too. And I was like, holy shit, okay, like there's 12 of us. And we just went.
Yeah.
And it was afterwards that we're like, oh man, we could actually use this trip to sell to clients.
Yeah.
Which we never ended up doing.
Yeah.
Which I think
it was at the start where there wasn't that many campaigns running. And now like campaigns are super common and like they're
Back
kind of
then,
losing their shine almost.
Yeah, working with brands is still a little bit like, oh, you're such a sellout.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a weird sensitive issue back then.
Do you remember who your kind of first commercial kind of gigs were and like?
Yeah, my first.
Yeah, who reached out to you? Or what was your first sort of paid gig through Instagram?
Oh, it wasn't paid.
It wasn't paid.
It was just like free clothes.
Same. We mentioned all this as well.
Mine was American Eagle.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember really well, and I was like, why would they want to work with me? Like, I'm just like, that's so cool. Like, I get free clothes. I was like super happy.
Yeah.
And with that campaign, I was just one of the talents out of like 50 other Hong Kong. We call it KOLs.
Yeah. That's an Asian kind of term.
Key opinion leader.
Oh wow, okay.
Which is weird.
Okay.
Like I was on the Opera trip and they're like a Chinese company and they're like, oh, all the KOLs like, DJI calls them KOLs.
Oh really?
It's a weird term. I find it strange.
But it's more vague than influencer. So I don't know which one I prefer. I think KOL.
KOL, because it's so like vague. You don't know what it is.
Sounds technical.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds like a marketing jargon.
Yeah, but better than influencer.
Yeah.
Or content creator.
Yeah. But then since then you've obviously worked with lots of other brands and stuff, so like mostly tourism, some clothing brands, camera, Canon, Manfrotto,
DJI, Manfrotto, North Face, Nike, which was actually a client from my advertising job, which kind of just
that's cool.
Everything's just in and then weirdly enough, a few skincare ones. So yeah.
And recently you were like, you did that thing with it was with Canon, right? Where you swapped lives with a blogger.
Yeah. That was really fun.
Yeah,
actually.
That looked cool.
Yeah.
You're the talent.
I was. Yeah.
And the blogger was taking photos of you.
Yes. It was actually really fun.
Okay.
People put makeup on you and make sure your hair looks all pretty. I'm like, oh, this is great. Yeah,
it's the other side of the camera.
Yeah. But I would never want to do that for a living. It's like too hectic.
Yeah,
it's pretty hectic.
Yeah.
It's more fun.
We can't relate because we never put on any makeup or anything. So yes.
But you've been in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
So
not enough, but I think this is like a start for.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the launch of your talent career.
I guess so.
I'm gonna be seeing you on TV soon.
You've been on.
I've been on TV.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah, you won the current affairs.
Yeah. For the Samsung launch.
Yeah.
They didn't put my handle, which is sad, but it was still cool.
You're just this random guy they picked up on the street.
They said my name, but never wrote my name.
They always try and dodge it. Like I saw this drone guy, he droned a whole bunch of sharks and stuff, and they just they try to avoid it always.
Right. Or it's like really like
or like
fainted.
Or it's his actual name. They don't ever put like the @ whatever.
But I mean, my name is my @ so it's
my
okay.
name is my @
So like your job, I think it's pretty related to what we do.
Yeah.
It helps out, right? Like, so I guess having that kind of perspective on the business marketing side.
Yeah.
And like running campaigns, like how does that help you when you run campaigns and stuff?
The photography campaigns?
Yeah.
I guess.
Because like I guess when I first started, I had no idea about like the requirements of the business side of stuff, and I just had to kind of wing it and figure it out.
Right.
But I guess it helps, right? Like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like say, because of my advertising experience, I guess I kind of know what clients expect from, I guess, photographers, creatives.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I would kind of do a bit more than maybe some other
KOLs.
Yeah.
I just can't just say KOL like straight up.
Just gotta flinch a bit.
Yeah, it's just like weird. So like even small things like, like mood board, like shooting schedule, just having everything more prepared than before they ask you for it.
Yeah.
Like for the people who don't know, and like they don't know the business side, how could you differentiate yourself to a client? Like, like mood boards and stuff, and
as a advertising creative.
No, as a photographer working with an agency.
Well, first of all, I have a media kit.
Yeah.
That kind of outlines the statistics because a lot of agencies care about that. My demographics.
Go on. Yeah, sorry. Is your media kit a PDF?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I have a website because PDFs are.
When's the PDF?
It's hard to update, huh? Like it changes so much.
Yeah.
Well,
true.
yeah, I have my website as well, which is more like to showcase the portfolio of work.
Yeah.
But then the PDF is more technical stuff that only probably marketing people care about.
Yeah. All right.
So like demographics, like what age are my audience, like the genders and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Engagement rate, and then some past project collaborations.
Yeah.
Because like I think even for me, when I look at influencers to work with, it's not that easy to actually know a lot about the person just by looking at their feed.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just want to know a bit more background about who they are, what they stand for. And so in my media kit, I would have, past campaigns, some, media exposures that I've had, like some interviews, press, some talks that I've done. Basically just everything that I've done. It's like a...
It's a one package kind of thing.
Yeah.
How many pages is your...
15. It's a lot of pictures.
Right. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So 10 to 15. Depends on the client.
Yeah.
So like if it's a travel client approaching me, then I would kind of tailor the pack to be more travel related. Whereas if it's more like, say, a sports brand, then I'll be like, oh, these are some work that you might have not seen on my Instagram page. But these are some work that I've done.
Yeah.
Also some art direction that I've done with other photographers for my advertising job as well. So it's, even if they don't hire you for this campaign, they might want to work with you for something else.
It's a good way to differentiate yourself from other photographers who would probably never think about doing that.
Well, a lot of photographers coming up without that traditional experience.
Right.
So they're like us. They started on Instagram and they now get paid jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
And they would never think to give a deck. Like, you sent me a deck the other day. And
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, shit. Like, wow. This looks very professional.
Yeah, I'm working on a Canon video, which is
yeah.
really hard because I've never done video.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm really late in terms of like handing them the file. But it's a video where I want to tell a story.
Yeah.
So in my head, like I need to get these down on paper, and it needs to make sense for me first before I actually move on to shoot stuff. So it is kind of like an advertising TVC where you're like, what's the inside? What's like the thought behind it? What's the story? You write out the story, and then it's like, oh, these are some mood boards. So there's a lot of crossover between my day job and, you know,
that would make sense, like to do all that kind of stuff. Like my first video was just running around and like. But if I had some kind of direction, I think it would have helped. So
it works for some people.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's just I haven't done video before, and I've shot footage before, but I never know what to do with it. So I'm like, okay, let me try a different approach this time.
But you're also an avid planner.
Yes.
I've heard about this. It's legendary.
You love planning.
I love planning.
Yeah,
I can't go on a trip without planning.
Yeah.
Because I hate wasting time. I'm like, I need to get the most out of every trip.
Yeah.
You've shared some of your itineraries and that kind of stuff. And they're pretty like detailed.
You can find them here.
Alright.
I can send a screenshot.
Yeah, you can scroll through them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite detailed.
Yeah, okay. So what countries, you've been to some pretty different countries as well. So like,
I like that you try and go beyond the Instagram-y kind of places.
Yeah. Where have I traveled to?
Mm.
Where haven't I traveled
Ooh.
to? No, I'm just kidding.
Name some kind of notable ones.
You were in your recent trip.
I was in Bali for a friend's wedding.
Yes.
All right.
Which is something I learned after moving here.
Yeah.
Australians love Bali.
Bali.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for like the Balinese.
Yeah, there's so many Aussies. Like.
Right.
Aussies, but also like you have foreigners like Canadians and like US people. It's getting popular. So
there's a lot of expats.
Yeah.
So I was in Bali for a friend's wedding, and then before that I was in Iran.
Yeah, Iran.
Well, Lisbon and Cannes.
Yep.
Where I have a list on my phone. Like I can't even remember where I went.
How was Iran? Like I guess.
Iran was really good. Like.
Yeah. You got a lot of questions about Iran when you came back.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, like, I kind of prefer traveling to places that's lesser known and kind of less discovered. Like, I've been to a lot of mainstream
Instagram-y.
It's weird, but a lot of more popular destinations like Japan and Thailand, South Korea, States, obviously, because I lived there, London, Paris, and you know all that.
Yep.
I haven't been to South America, which I really want to.
Right.
And South Africa. But Iran was kind of always on the back of my mind because everyone that I've met who's been to Iran say such good things about it. Whereas in my head, obviously, I'm influenced by media, and media obviously shows you all the bad stuff about that place. Like just because like Middle East has a really bad rep, I think, especially in Western countries. Yeah. And so like when you think of Iran, you just think like war and terrorists and all that kind of stuff. But like it's my experience there is completely opposite.
Yeah.
And as I said, Iran is a really big country, and those bad things. Yeah. Like the conflicts happen only in like a small part, like especially in the borders.
Yeah.
So in Iran, there's actually like one really popular route going from Tehran, Isfahan, Yazd, all the way down to Shiraz. And we did that super popular tourist trip, and we actually keep bumping into the same tourists from previous cities. Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, everyone's just doing the same thing. Yeah. And the thing with Iran is like Iranian people are just super welcoming to anyone who's visiting their countries. Like I think a lot of them knows that they're being portrayed in a certain way. Yeah. So in some ways they want people to think, or at least they don't want
people to think that way about them.
Exactly, yeah. And they're genuinely really nice. Yeah. And the architecture there, like all the mosques are like absolutely gorgeous. Everything's really cheap there as well. So, I mean, it was, I don't know, it was like a very memorable trip. Yeah. At first, the first 2 days, like honestly, I was like actually like a little, worried, just because of my misconception. Yeah. But once you kind of let that go, that's how you can fully enjoy, like a country as its best. Mm-hmm. And and I've actually had like a lot of conversations with other people, and obviously like when I post stuff on Instagram, some people accuse me for supporting the government, like supporting the regime because I visit a country like that.
Right.
But my kind of thought is, if you're visiting New York, does it mean you're supporting the Trump administration?
Yeah, right.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people should kind of, in a way, kind of think more about these things before just
definitely
diving straight into like, oh, you went to this place, you're bad, you know? So like, and this trip kind of made me realize how impactful media really is to everyone, like, and how everyone should be more, critical to what they read on newspapers and stuff too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, think for yourself and make your own decisions. Like after you're gonna experience it, I think that's what I would want to do. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I know it's a very deep.
That's all right. We can go
topic.
Deep. It's a good topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's something I feel really strongly about too.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, if some of you guys are interested in visiting Iran, Anthony Bourdain has like a really good episode in his what's his show called?
Parts Unknown.
Yeah, Parts Unknown. Yeah. So we
unknown.
Really made the decision to visit Iran because of that video.
Oh, cool.
So it's worth checking it out.
He has some pretty cool stuff. Like he goes to kind of places that are parts unknown, I guess. Yeah,
and he talks to locals
goes
as
into
well.
He really kind of embeds himself in the culture and stuff. So.
Yeah, and it's not just about food. It's like about the whole, all different aspects too. Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
How's it moving to Sydney?
Yeah, like, how's Sydney life going?
So you moved from Hong Kong to Sydney about a year ago?
A year and a half.
Yeah. So you've been here for a while, and what are the differences?
What are the differences? What do you guys think?
Lifestyle-wise. Well, I've lived here my whole life, so.
Yeah. But you've been to Hong Kong, so
We've never lived there. I think it's a different,
yeah,
definitely a different experience living there.
I mean, I think Sydney has a really great lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it kind of checks all the boxes for like the most basic needs, like fresh air, fresh produce. You can afford, well, relatively compared to Hong Kong, you can afford living in like a decent space where you can actually move around. And there's parks everywhere. Like, my lungs feel better, and I actually don't get sick as often. As when I'm in Hong Kong. Like back home, I used to get sick once a month, and now it's like I've been here a year and a half, and I've only been sick once.
Yeah.
And it was in Bali, so it's not even like Australia. So I think it checks all the boxes for like, having a decent life.
Yeah.
But it does lack the, the pace of like a big city.
Yeah.
And kind of the vibe and that energy that you get in places like Hong Kong, Tokyo, New York. And that's something that I miss the most, is kind of that energy.
Yeah.
They had a panel yesterday of them trying to like get rid of the lockout laws.
Yeah.
And they were saying that Sydney was voted the top 10 of the worst like cities in the world to visit.
Really?
I think so. Because like you look at it now, like the whole city goes quiet after like 5 p.m. And, like,
it's pretty.
But it wasn't like that before. It was actually. Yeah, you wouldn't leave your house until like 10, 11 p.m.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And now it's...
Back in my clubbing days. I don't club anymore, which is fine, but like, I mean, it's doesn't feel like an international city anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Did it used to be?
Yeah, more so than now.
Right.
Like, so the dude was like, he runs all Ivy and stuff. And Madonna had an after party.
Right.
And she got there and they couldn't let her in.
Oh my
because
God.
It was after the lockdown.
Oh my goodness.
They had to send her away, and that was like, it was so embarrassing.
Oh my God. Madonna.
Yeah.
Madonna.
So, lockout laws. You gotta...
Jesus.
Hopefully they kind of turned that around, but like...
That's
crazy. I think if they kind of fix that, it might kind of liven up again.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
I feel Melbourne's a little more, definitely livelier than Sydney.
Yeah, because they don't have those laws and stuff.
But it's cold.
It's really cold, yeah. The weather's better here.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, like, you have all the really nice beaches and national parks near Sydney. So that's something that I've kind of learned to appreciate as well. Just because, like, I was never a nature person. I'm always, like, city, everything is condensed and you just get to places really fast. But now I'm kind of learned to kind of just slow down and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing about Sydney, how close city and nature.
Yeah.
It's like so close. Like half an hour out and you're already like in some bush somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to explore more nature kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's so much. I've kind of done the whole lap already.
Yeah.
You've kind of done it as well, and like there are spots. And yeah, we just need to go out. I'm at home editing or like trying to travel overseas, but there are definitely places to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different vibe though. It's like nature.
I mean, I'm still kind of trying to get used to nature photography because I think nature photography requires more patience.
Yeah, a little bit.
And you kind of have to, say drive 5 hours to get like one picture.
And if the conditions are shit, like you just have to keep doing it until you
get it. Exactly. Yeah. Whereas I don't have that much patience.
Yeah, same with
me.
So
in Hong Kong, it's like you walk down one street and you get like 100 pictures. It's like done. Yeah. Like I can go home and look at these pictures. They're all awesome. And it's very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that's maybe relating why Sydney people are probably more chilled out and relaxed.
Yeah.
Because they can take time and take their photos and like spend more time on traveling to get one photo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I might need to get used to.
Well, like landscape photographers always cop a lot of shit. So, like they go to all these amazing places. That's why their photos are amazing. But like you gotta hike there. You gotta hike there. You gotta plan it, and if it's shit, you gotta go back and.
Yeah. It's luck as well, right?
Yeah.
You need to know how to look at the weather.
Yeah.
The weather report. Yeah. It's just a lot more research, I think.
Yeah. If there's no clouds and like not as good because you want a banger sunset.
Yeah. Banger.
Yeah.
You still gotta catch the fog in Sydney.
Oh my god!
Every time there is, I try to call you, but like you just like not here or like
sleeping.
You have work or like.
There's like 4 a.m. or something. Yeah.
I still need to catch the fog in Sydney too.
I woke you up the day.
I had something on that day. I couldn't go.
Dan called me.
That sounds like an excuse.
Yeah.
I had something on.
I'd love to capture fog.
Yeah, we will one day.
Next year. It's past already, I think.
Yeah, next year.
But it's snowing today in like
there were photos today of Blue Mountain snowing.
Really?
Yeah.
Like actual snowing.
Yes. Eric sent me a photo this morning. I was like, Eric messaged me. He was like, Demas, come here now. I was like, I'm sleeping.
It's like 2 hours drive away. By the time I get there, there's no snow.
Yeah. So I don't know. Should we talk about
your
thoughts about Instagram today? And like, I guess you started Instagram. What year did you start Instagram?
2012.
2012. Yeah.
2011, 2012,
yeah. I joined 2011, but I had like zero photo skills or even interest like back then. So it's like, I'm kind of jealous in some ways that like you kind of grew up with photography. I think I'd be a lot further. I don't know where I'd be.
Right.
Yeah, it's very hard to say, but I didn't start taking photos until like way later. Right. And so like you were the OGs and like inspiring us.
Yeah.
Us like
that's so weird.
Yeah.
That's true though.
Photography is kind of new in my life, I guess.
Right.
So.
I'm an architect, so I always look at architecture photos. So like when I was looking, Viv's also an architect. So when I was looking, I guess for inspiration all around the world,
resonated with.
I found like your account, Viv's account, because like Hong Kong's very architectural, like heavy.
Yeah.
So I was like automatically drawn towards accounts like yours, obviously. So yeah, and I guess. Like I shoot a lot of architecture because I'm an architect. So that's sort of where I found your account back in the day. And then
your style's changed over time.
Yeah,
you noticed that.
Yeah, I noticed that. But it's not a conscious.
Yeah, like it just happens. Like, So you started off. Take us through your.
Take us through your journey.
So architectural stuff, and when you first started with iPhones.
Remember. Yeah, I guess it started with the iPhone geometric stuff, and then cityscapes.
Yeah.
And then I started trying to shoot like portraits.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to, so I was like, I'll just give it a go. And then I started enjoying shooting portraits because it's more, I guess, unique because you need the right model, the outfit, and the environment and everything.
Yeah.
And then travel, landscapes, and obviously rooftoping. And then now I've kind of been more interested in more cinematic, almost like a movie still kind of vibe. Like, I don't think I know exactly how to shoot that yet, but I look at a lot of these inspiration, like a lot of stuff, say like on the imaginary magnitude hashtag, a lot of the...
There's a lot of like something magazine accounts popping up, but like they do a lot of the cinematic stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I'm more interested in more capturing moments now, which is really hard, I think. because you always have to be noticing everything around you, and if something happens and you missed it, you know.
You can't just go out and get a moment. Like, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah. You can't just be like, tonight I'm gonna shoot a moment. Like, so
you
can't just do that.
Your style is very kind of right for like street photography and stuff. So I've noticed.
That's where I'd like to go.
Yeah.
That's where my interest is, and I have been shooting quite a lot of street actually, like especially in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I just didn't post that many of it.
Yeah.
And
you should.
And of course the photos on
Street classics.
Yeah, there you go. Street classics.
Yeah.
Street classics and imaginary magnitude are kind of my two, like, you know, inspiration places, and also I guess because at work when we're looking for mood boards, we look at stock photos, but a lot of times stock photos are just not nice. And so we actually look at a lot of movie stills, and when I'm looking at that, I'm just like, how can a flat image just give you so much emotion? Like, there's just something about it which you can't explain, which is something that I'm really interested in. So yeah, something that kind of just sticks to your head almost is
They're iconic. A lot of the kind of cine stills are kind of iconic because I've seen the movies, but like, even if I haven't seen the movie, it's still really, it's hard to explain why it's like cinematic.
Like you look at it, you're just like, damn, like it looks like there's a big story behind this. I don't know what it is, but I'm keen to find out. Like,
I guess they set it up. There's an actor, and like he might be like, for example, like holding onto a wall, falling off like a building, and like you don't shoot those things normally.
No, you don't.
There's definitely a story behind it.
Yeah, for sure. More storytelling, I suppose. Like that's kind of what I'm interested in. Not that I'm actually doing it myself, but that's something that I like.
Yeah, you should start shooting more videos and stuff. I'm keen to see.
It's too much work.
How's the video going?
It's going.
Okay.
Have you made progress since?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
I put all the files into After Effects.
Yeah.
No.
Premiere.
You don't even know the program.
Wrong program.
That program, that Adobe program.
Yeah. Okay.
Baby steps, and when you start to see it come together, then it like gives you momentum to do more.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. How about you guys? I mean, you guys have changed too.
Yeah.
I'm the host now.
I think, I mean, everyone's styles have changed over time, I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of dived a lot more into Photoshop stuff and like photo manipulation and I guess teaching people how to do it as well.
You just find random planes everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere I go, I find one. But yeah, I think that's sort of where I kind of found my niche, and I enjoy it. So yeah,
that's good. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's about whether you enjoy doing it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to force it; it just happens. Like
I'm not
direction that you're going in and stuff. Like,
just whatever you like, whatever you enjoy, do it. I think I don't know. I feel like maybe like from a perspective of coming from the original days of Instagram and kind of looking at it now, I guess like I want to know what your thoughts are, because you've seen it all. Like you've seen the whole growth of Instagram. Really... You've seen like how it's changed so much.
Yes. Yeah.
It makes it sound like you're old and kind of OG. But like you think about like the time span of Instagram and how it came up, and like it's already kind of started from nothing and then hit its peak.
And now it's kind of plateauing.
Do you think it's hit its peak and it's like...
is it going downwards?
For me, I've definitely hit a plateau.
Yeah.
I would say when I first started, it was more pure as well. It was more simply a platform where you can meet cool people and take photos together. At least this is my experience. Right? It's different for everyone.
Yes.
Similar for me. But
it was more pure. It was like, let's just go to this MTR stop and just explore the area.
Yeah.
Just go shoot some photos. And then I guess because with cityscape and architecture as well, it's really easy to replicate. And that's part of why people follow your account, because they see your cool photos and they want to shoot the same thing. Like, I mean, that's how a lot of people start off anyway as a creative. You start by mimicking others, and that's kind of how you learn. And over time, you kind of see all these photos that look the same, and I think this is something that I'm sure you guys have talked about before as well, where every photo you look is just the same, and this just like pretty boring. And so now I'm like kind of moved away from that, and plus with all this brand stuff and like influencers and trying to get campaigns, it's just not as pure and as fun anymore.
I think when you add money to anything, it kind of
money is
people start to hate each other and like they start to
more
fight
competition.
each other.
And it's like
and I think it's also because more like I've gained more followers over the years.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like you have some sort of responsibility to put out good stuff for people to look at.
Yeah.
And so that kind of pressure also, it's like, you know, kind of just changed the nature of how I shoot, or even if it's not how I shoot, but how I decide what to share online.
It's paralyzing sometimes.
Yeah.
Because back then you're just like, I'm just gonna post whatever.
It's like, oh, this looks cool, I'll just post it. And
like 2 p.m, I'm just gonna post now.
There's no time.
I'm gonna post like 3 photos today.
I just post 3 photos a day.
This is another thing that has no stats to back up, but it's kind of just my own observation, which is I noticed that, you know, as you said, the OOG, I kind of see it as like different generations of Instagrammers. So there's the OOG and I guess us. And then there's like the newer group, and then like, you know, obviously
we're like
it goes like younger.
10 levels down already.
I feel like we're a generation maybe below you.
Well, just because you started later, but it's not about seniority or like being below or above others. It's more, it's interesting because like all these OOG people, they have say maybe 800k followers, but their engagement is like shit. And I don't think it's because of the quality of the photos, but it's just because people who follow them, they've been following them for a long time, and they might not be as active on the app anymore. Or because they've seen these photos, or they've seen your style, and you know, over time people get sick of things, or they just get used to seeing something and it just doesn't interest them anymore. And so I noticed that there was a time when it's really apparent that these OOGs kind of, their engagement rate just went down a shit ton. And I'm like, it's like they still post really good photos, like they still post really good work, like why is it like this? And then it started happening to like people like me, where I do notice that a lot of people who are more I guess engaged maybe 3 years or 4 years ago are just not around ananymore. And so like my engagement maybe used to be like say 10k likes per photo, and now it's just like down to like 5 or 4 to 5,000. And then I think that this is gonna happen to people down the generation.
I have theories on this, but like people go through like there's heaps of variables, right? So like you as a creator, you have kind of cycles of like where you're at in your kind of creative career. And like you can do all the bangers and all that kind of stuff, but like eventually you get over it, and like you want to
try something different,
try something new. You want to actually.
And this is not just photography; it's like music, art, any creative endeavors.
But eventually, like you might be like, I can't stop spending so much time taking photos. I need to make money, and then like you go that route, or like there's all these different kind of journeys people take. But that also applies to like people on Instagram. Like I used to be on scrolling like. When it was chronological, I would like look at everything and like make sure. But I can't
make sure you look at everything.
I still do.
But you can't keep that up unless you're this guy. And like eventually, you either get sick of it or like then the algorithm came in and changed it. But like
you're just used to it. Like you maybe because I noticed that in my own behavior as well. There's like I've seen this person's photos for so many years. It's still really good, but it just doesn't interest me as much because. I already kind of know what they shoot
from.
So it's interesting to think about.
The first time I saw a Tory Gate, I was like, oh my god, a Tory Gate, what the hell? And they're like,
it's like a Japanese Tory Gate.
You know the spiritual gate
things? I thought it's
not a
username.
No. Like,
it's a cool username at Tory Gate if that person's out there.
When I started kind of Instagram, it opened up the world. So it visually opened up the world to all these different places.
You're like, I want to go to all these places.
Like, I've never seen this before. Like, the only way to see that on the internet would be like some Flickr. Like, no one uses that.
Old school Instagram.
Oh, funny enough, I got a licensing like photo through my Flickr the other day. So random.
It's still around.
You have a Flickr.
I have a random Flickr that I haven't updated for like 5 years. And it was a photo of like an architecture building, like by this guy called Glenn Merkett, who used to be my tutor at uni. He's one of Australia's famous.
So what happened? He licensed your photo.
So some guy in America was writing an essay about him.
Oh wow!
And managed to find a photo from my Flickr, and asked if they could license it. And I was like, oh, okay. yeah. So that's happening.
Oh, that's
and he's gonna send me the book that he's writing. So
Flickr's where it's at.
Yeah. Just get your stuff on as many platforms as possible. I think that's the key message from that.
Spend time, like, you browse it too much, man.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? So, like,
you're saying that
we go through different cycles, and
Yes.
like people cycle off, and like I think
it's just normal human behavior.
yeah, we're gonna be like, we're getting pushed out, are we, to different levels of energy. I think it's fine, but like the app's changing itself as well, and like it's definitely kind of plateaued. And
but it's also kind of like a little bit of a game, right? Like you have to find ways to
keep the momentum almost.
Yeah, and then like how can you, like, for me it's like I'm constantly pushing myself to try to like see how this photo might work and that photo might not, like, but it's still like I enjoy making it. So I guess for me it's a little bit of like strategic game,
right?
More, that kind of stuff.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to enjoy what you're doing.
Creatively, that's not fulfilling for me. I'm like trying to figure out Instagram.
Well, of course,
like,
no. But I like, I'm not trying to figure out Instagram. I'm just like trying to come up with new ideas for my own photography at the same time.
See if it works.
Posting on Instagram.
Like it's in a way it's the same as music, right? Like that's kind of why every genre kind of gets really popular for like 5 or 6 or 10 years. And then you just don't hear from these artists anymore.
Dubstep.
Kind of
Dubstep. I was into
I used to listen to
me too. But like now when I hear it, it's like, I can't do it anymore.
It sounds very old.
They used it in all the ads, and like it was very repetitive.
Now it's Joji.
Rich Brian.
Shout out Joji.
88 Rising.
Oh, we're gonna see Rich Brian.
I know. He told me.
What's Joji? Joji's like emo.
He's
like
sad
music.
He's very sad.
But it's like it's his thing.
But his music video is cool.
Very artsy.
I
support Rich Brian because he's my Indonesian homie.
Oh, is he Indonesian?
Yeah. You should see his first like music video. How he got famous.
Right.
I think the song's called That Stick.
Was he on Vine at first?
He was on Vine, but his first YouTube video that went like crazy. He literally like on a random like neighborhood street in Jakarta. It looks like any other street. Like it's funny because I could relate because I grew up in those sorts of places.
He learned English through like YouTube videos and stuff.
Wow.
Because he was homeschooled.
Wow.
And now he's like a rapper.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Yeah, his story is pretty crazy. So yesterday we asked you guys to ask Elaine some questions. And let's go through and ask some of them.
24 hours ago.
Yeah,
exactly 24 hours ago.
David Sergio, what is the single thing that improved your photography?
Single thing.
I guess one thing that took your photography to the next level.
Like that made a point of difference.
Just practice?
No, can't be more specific.
I think for me, it's not a question for me.
You discovered aperture.
It's not a question for me, but I think
figured out how to press the button.
For me, it's like taking a photo and then questioning it and seeing if I could take it to the next level. Like, how can I make this photo better? And like constantly questioning something, I think always helps me like make my photography better. I think like always just not being satisfied, like never being satisfied or something. But that's my answer, and it's your Q&A. So,
well, like, was there any?
So, Demas,
did taking up like a portrait photography?
Yeah, I think it's
like I would really like your portraits and stuff, and
oh, thank you.
I think it's kind of a hard thing to get into and be good at. Yeah. How did you?
I think it's going from just bringing my camera out and just shooting whatever to actually thinking about what I want to shoot and planning it. And
hashtag planning.
No, but travel planning versus photo planning is two different things, right? Like travel planning is more how do I do as much as I can efficiently. Photo planning is more like what do I want to get out of this shoot and what kind of mood do I want to portray by working with this model, by shooting at this certain location, which to me is more creatively fulfilling than I'll just go out and shoot whatever. Because usually 90% of those photos are shit.
Like you're lucky if you get a good one, but like whereas when you plan it and it all works out in the end, then
then you're like, oh man, this is kind of my vision and this is what I actually did, and it sounds like a work shoot. It sounds like what I do for work, but this is more just like a creative, fun side project. And yeah, you're right. Like it is the portrait photography stuff that made me go, oh, like this is like, I guess you have more purpose.
Yeah.
When you put more thinking behind things.
Like, for example, I really like the telephone booth one. Like,
oh yeah,
what was the story behind that one? Yeah, me too.
I mean,
did you set that up? Was that a commercial shoot?
Here's the photo.
Yeah. Just blocked them or something.
It wasn't a commercial shoot. Like, I always wanted to shoot in the phone booth.
Yeah,
okay. It's actually been it's actually been in my mind for years.
Yeah.
I remember I was in Tokyo, and I remember how the phone booth was just really orange.
Yeah.
And then everywhere else, obviously, it's like that typical cinematic teal and orange.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to shoot someone either on the phone or like smoking in a telephone booth.
Yeah.
But I could just never find the right time, or like I'm with friends and they're not keen on being in a photo, or they don't smoke and stuff like that. And so when I met up with that model, she has a bowl cut hair.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Bowl cut hair with fringe.
Bob? Is it a bob?
Bob. Yeah. Whatever it's called. I was like, your look is perfect for this kind of, rainy, moody shot. And it was raining, luckily enough. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. It was in front of Central HSBC, I remember.
Yep.
And the reason why I chose that telephone booth is because there's all these like really fancy shops. And there's lights.
You've just given away the location everyone's going to go to.
Oh, it's fun. It's a phone booth. Anyone can go.
And the HSBC building in Hong Kong is like famous.
The headquarters, And I remember, because there's all these lights coming from the shops, I didn't need to set up any lights. Like, usually when I shoot, I don't like bringing artificial lighting, which could be a problem in commercial shoots. But I always try to rely on surrounding light, and just this whole thing just feels more natural. I finally shot that, and it's something that's been at the back of my mind for ages. And
there's something cinematic about like the whole phone booth. It's used a lot in, I guess, like movies and that kind of stuff.
In the rain.
That helps too.
Just one phone booth in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Do you do much like commercial, like with like artificial light and stuff? Do you do much of that? Because I have no idea about light, and like I guess for both of us, we're more of like we just like kind of guerrilla style. We just shoot whatever's there. And
I don't even like using a tripod. This guy always like laughs at how bad it is.
Like
setting up a light.
I just like going light.
My
shoulders hurt.
That's why you carry your wheelie bag.
The most I use is probably just like a light with like color filters, just so that I can add some mood. Like I just did like a Chow Sang Sang shoot, which is like a jewelry company in Hong Kong, and I use that light, and obviously the reflector is really important. But other than that, not really.
Okay.
Biggest reason is because I don't know how to use artificial lighting.
Me neither.
I think it's a completely different game.
Yes.
And it's a different look, I guess, but for commercial shoots, like when you have to shoot on Tuesday, you don't, or like for example, like you have to shoot on this time, you can't wait for the light, or like
when it's commercial shoot and you have to control the light in the environment, then and so I've worked with a lot of professional photographers on that, which is kind of also why I don't call myself a professional photographer, because I don't know a lot of these things.
Right.
That's
I don't know.
You're definitely a professional photographer.
But one thing I would like to say about artificial light is there's this photographer I stumbled upon not long ago, Alessio, from Italy.
Didn't you go with him?
Yeah, he was in Japan with me.
Oh yeah. So I look at his photos and it looks really natural and moody and cinematic.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it was lit up by artificial light, but a lot of them is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something
he knows how
I'd like
to do studio stuff, and
but it doesn't look like a studio
shot,
which is what I love. So that's kind of something that I'd be keen to try.
People like he had this like kind of it's like a smudge kind of effect on his photos, and they're like, "Hey, what app are you using?" And it's like he showed people how he did it. He
like
just
a Vaseline.
Yeah, just like and like that was good enough.
What app?
But yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite kind of portrait photographers.
Yeah.
Next question.
What about this? How.zh asks, how does your editing process go?
Pretty.
You have a style.
Same as most other people on Instagram, I think. Like Lightroom and Photoshop. I used to actually just use Photoshop, and then everyone's like, why don't you use Lightroom? And I was like, okay, I'll try it out. And now I'm like, I can't stop using Lightroom. It's just so much easier.
What are the differences?
But then like you weren't doing much photo manipulation on Photoshop, right?
No,
you were just doing
I was actually doing color grading on
yeah,
Photoshop. Because that's kind of just what I've always used.
Yeah.
I never even know what Lightroom was before.
What were you doing? Like, as in just adding
like color balance and hue saturation,
camera
same
roll.
stuff.
Yeah, camera roll.
So what are the differences of going from Photoshop to Lightroom? I've never done Photoshop.
It's an easier interface, I think, and the fact that you can just copy what you edited on one photo and apply it to the same series, it's just like
essentially it's the same kind of controls and functions, but then just made for like photography.
I think also the organization of it, like your folders and all that kind of stuff, helps a lot.
Yeah, and it doesn't kill my my laptop.
Yeah,
like
Photoshop does.
Photoshop does a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lightroom, and then sometimes I still use Visco. Before posting on Instagram, because the colors of the photos on phones look really different than on laptop.
Yeah.
And so I just do some like minor tweak on Visco before posting it on Instagram.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Henky.c asks, where do you want to go next to travel?
Jimmy, where are you going next?
I'd like to go to South America,
Right.
but it's very far from Australia.
Yeah.
So I need to take like 2 to 3 weeks.
South
Specifically, we're all
place.
over.
No,
like,
you got to pick a place.
I'd like to go to Argentina.
Yeah, that's the south, like right at the tip, right?
Yeah, I'd also like to go to Brazil. Where else? There's quite a few other places. Just can't really remember. But Argentina's kind of one big one.
Right.
Yeah.
Pammy Westside 8 asks, can I get into art direction without any visual arts, design education, or work background?
Yes.
It's a good question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next.
How do you do it?
I don't think you necessarily need to go to school for art and design or any creative stuff. Like for some people it just comes naturally.
Yeah.
And I think if you have a body of work to show for it, you can just bring your portfolio in and try and find jobs. Like art, music, writing, it's something that some people are just talented.
Yeah.
And I did go to school for it, and so like I had a portfolio from school, but in my portfolio I also had a lot of proactive project, kind of just to show my creative thinking.
So proactive is an extracurricular, like,
as
so
in
you
no,
did it outside
as in like, oh, I have this idea, I'm just gonna make it, and then I'm gonna put it in my portfolio.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to rely on education or training or work experience to build a portfolio, like. Because you can think of anything, anytime.
Yeah.
And if you have the most basic softwares to explain the idea or take a photo with your iPhone, as long as your portfolio shows your creative thinking or your art sense or your, say, photography eye, then you're good.
Yeah.
Because it's the same like for when people ask like, should I go to photography school? Like,
it's the same.
I don't think people necessarily need to. I would say no.
Yeah.
Because like if you get paired up with like a professor who doesn't like, it's not your style and like it's not your direction, then you're
so
pretty much
subjective.
screwed. Yeah, you're screwed. Like they'd be like, this is shit. And
but of course something like architecture is different because you need to know.
Architecture is quite different because you need to understand some technical stuff.
Yeah.
Like a surgeon.
The rules of how like codes
gravity
and
works.
rules. Yeah, cantilever structure, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You kind of understand a little bit of it, but we do work with like structural engineers and we're kind of managing all the engineers as well as designing it, so it's a bit of everything for architecture, I think.
Do they look for like a diploma or like a degree when they're looking for art directors?
Not necessarily. It's more about your portfolio. Because you could go to the best school ever but your work is just shit.
Like, true.
Alright, TK
North, how are freelance photography jobs in Sydney compared to Hong Kong?
Yeah, what's the landscape?
Yeah, I guess like
I've noticed like
and
different countries are like either behind.
Yeah.
Japan's kind of behind on the whole social thing.
Right. I don't know if I can answer that because I haven't gotten that many freelance jobs in Sydney.
She's still flying back to Hong Kong to kind of do
So I think because my feed is so Hong Kong heavy, and I've kind of established a name and a brand in Hong Kong, and also because like I've worked in advertising, right? So I kind of have the right connection, and so it was a lot easier for me to get approached for jobs. Whereas in Sydney, when I first got here, I actually sent my media kit to so many agencies, social agencies, but there's just nothing.
Right.
Which was actually really frustrating for me when I first got here, because I'm like, oh, like I guess my Instagram will just die now. Like this side hustle thing might not just work out when I'm here.
Right.
And I do realize that it is a lot slower
in
terms of how things work here, and I can't speak for everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your experience is way different from mine, but I noticed a lot of the jobs go to bloggers and kind of
I agree.
Bondi bronze kind of girl in bikini by the water, that kind of look, and that seems to be dominant in
Australia, I think so.
In the market. So yeah, I don't know.
There's a need for that, I think. Like the marketers, they want that tick box of like lifestyle or whatever. So
right.
I guess camera companies, they want to find more women to kind of push their products because there's enough dudes. So
right.
That's one tip.
Women here.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, also because I'm not from here. So I guess it is harder for, Australia. Like if they want to target Australians, it's harder for them to resonate with my account.
Right.
So maybe they would prefer to work with like an Australian.
But is it maybe demographics as well? Because you have a lot of Hong Kong followers, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just, I think, finding the right context to talk to. Like that takes a long time usually.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
doesn't matter where you go.
Yeah, I think my account would be good if, say, Australia wants to promote 2 Asian countries.
Yeah.
Then I would fit into that. Hint.
Yeah.
All right, this is a photography one. Nathan Berridge. What is your favorite first thing to do when you arrive at a new location to photograph? Or even just traveling?
When it comes to traveling, I want to get to know the place before I actually take my camera out and just go shoot. Walk around, try and interact with locals and absorb it not in real life, but in person.
Yes.
And then just having a camera that kind of just blocks everything off.
Yeah.
And I think it's important when you travel is to not be so hung up on like, I need to get this shot. All I'm going to do is get this shot. Like, I think it's important to embrace the culture and experience it.
Yeah. And adapt to all the different situations that come at you.
Yeah. Rather than just like, I'm only going for this specific shot. This is my whole trip and I'm just going to do that. Yeah. Because it kind of takes the fun and charm away from traveling. Yeah. A little.
I think I used to be like that, but now I've kind of embraced
that. I was like that for a little bit,
Your best my best photos would come from like spending enough time in a place.
Yes.
Like you go and you take the kind of standard postcard shot and like it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It'll get like, a lot of likes on Instagram, but like it doesn't mean anything. And like if you kind of spend more time at a location
or stumble upon something you didn't expect.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though I plan out my trips in great detail, I always try to just leave at least like some time for just whatever.
Yeah.
Don't travel behind your camera. I think that.
Is that a quote?
Yeah.
Is that a quote? Okay. Is that an Ichiban quote or is it
It's an original.
Okay.
Well, just say it's an Ichiban.
Yeah. All right. I think we're gonna wrap.
Okay. Maybe just to wrap things up, is there anything you want to plug, or how can we find you, or like?
You can find me on Instagram.com/Li Elaine.
Yep.
Or my if you want to look at my advertising work or any other work, it's Elaine www.elaine.li.
Nice, and that's a Lithuanian website.
Yes, but my last name is Li, so it makes sense.
Thanks for listening to the podcast.
Demas and Ishban.
Oh, thanks for plugging us.
Hello.
Thanks for listening to the 5 to 9 podcast. If you're listening on audio, give us a review on iTunes.
Or follow us on Spotify. And if you're watching this video, make sure you guys give a like, comment, and subscribe.
Turn on the bell notification.
And we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.